Whenever you're ready to call the meeting to order.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna call a meeting to order on this Monday, October the 12th. Mrs. Kukla, please read the preamble.
Thank you. My name is Liz Kukla, and I am the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law under COVID-19 emergency declaration, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conducts its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you, and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Next slide, Mr. Rulins. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being, live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on a particular case via our website and email. We've also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think we need to do a roll call, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you. Will do. Mr. Donovan.
Here. Here.
Ms. Barnes. Thank you. Ms. Barnes.
Ms. Barnes here.
Thank you. Ms. Bates. I do not see her. And Mrs. Johnson.
Here.
Mrs. Johnson, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Would you like to announce? I'll announce the postponements. We have a request on calendar 20-140 at 12716 Buckeye Road. Without objection, board, we'd like to postpone this case until, do we have a date, Mrs. Kukla?
Yes, Madam Chair, November 16th. This request was made by Marka Fields from the City Planning Commission. This is to allow time for community review. So November 16th is approximately a month. If you'd like to go further, we can do November 23rd.
No, I think the 15th should probably be all right. Unless you
Without
have
objection.
Without objection. Marlene?
Without objection.
Thank you, darling. Calendar 20-141 at 2117 West 18th Street. We have previously, did we previously?
Yes.
Yes, we
Thank
did.
you, Madam Chair.
That has been postponed till the 19th. And calendar 20-142 has also been previously postponed till the 19th of October. Okay.
As well as 20-143.
143, yes.
Yes.
I'm
Those
going
are
to turn
three
my
houses.
page. And calendar 20-144, we have a request for a postponement.
Oh, Madam Chair, actually, that was a typo. That is not the case that needs to be postponed this morning. There is just the Buckeye Road case and then the West 18th and Bradford cases. So that was a mistake on my part. I apologize. Triscuit Road is going forward this morning.
Okay, good. All right, fine. Well, if we don't, I'll read calendar. I'll start with calendar 20-139 at 2431 West 5th Street. Charlie Foy, owner, proposes to expand a non-conforming 3-dwelling unit by adding a 4th live-work unit in a B1 2-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application from the following sections of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as listed in the agenda and public record.
Everyone for this case, kindly raise your right hand. I'm going to make a statement. I'm looking for an affirmation by the words "I do" in your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Kurt Weaver.
I do, Khalid Hawthorne.
Anyone else? Hearing none, we move.
Thank you very much. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. I found in the records room that a permit was issued in 1923 to erect a two-story store and dwelling building. 1925, a retaining wall and garage was erected on the property. There are no variances on file in this case, and in the more recent history I found in 2014, a permit was issued to remove and replace the exterior 6-foot-high wall. Also in 2014, a permit was issued to demolish a garage and construct a new garage. And then in 2019, a certificate of disclosure was issued stating that the use of the property is 3 dwelling units, and that's all that I have.
Thank you very much. The legal standard we'll be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner. Laurie?
Am I muted?
Ms. Wagner?
No,
the
not
legal
anymore.
stand-
Oh, okay. Appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the off-street parking regulations of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Charlie Foy wasn't sworn in, was he? Is Kurt going to be the spokesperson?
I would assume.
Okay. Mr. Weaver?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, and fellow citizens. Question to Elizabeth, just on protocols. We did do a power of attorney document that Charlie sent back notarized, so I'm hoping that that is appropriately on file for this.
Liz?
Yes, I have that. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Kurt.
Thank you. Also, Elizabeth, thank you for clarifying the with the history. I have history documents from the county that shows a 1900 date, and I have another piece of history document that shows a 1914 date. So there was some question about when this building actually came into existence, but it does appear that it was built as it exists today as a storefront that you saw in the photographs with my assumption is that it was a storefront in the front and that the family that ran the store lived on the back, and that, again, from the history, I can determine that the second floor looks like at the time it was 6 rooms, like maybe tenement type rooms. And then at some point it switched to being 2 apartments. So what we have today is we have a storefront that Charlie would like to repurpose and put back in service with an existing apartment behind it and 2 existing apartments above.
Well, let's go through the list of what the adjudication, please. Really, it's not allowed in this, but we would have to make an exception to the rule. But also, there's no parking shown.
Correct. There's the existing driveway that you see south of the building, out for cars to park along there, but that's a weird circumstance relative to how parking spaces are codified in the city of Cleveland. because you can't actually call a parking space on a driveway when there's adjacent windows a parking space. So they do park there. Well, parking spaces on our site plan drawing, I showed the parking spaces that exist on the curb, one in the front, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as you go down Jefferson Avenue.
Okay.
The driveway does not go back and connect to the one-car garage that is shown in the backyard there.
All right. Maurice, can we go back to the renderings or the actual photos rather? Oh, thank you. Okay.
Is that a
That's a
driveway?
really good representation. You can see the storefront, you can see the building as it sits and it goes down Jefferson Hill. You can see where the truck is parked further down and there's no cars parked there at the moment. The driveway as it runs along and that two-use parking, and that the garage is in the back there and it is a one-car garage.
You could connect the driveway to the garage, couldn't you?
That's true. It would eliminate the backyard, the small backyard that they have, but
What are they doing with the garage?
I presume he uses it for storage for, equipment and such. I don't know that for a fact.
So
I'm looking-
your request is all about parking.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all the new buildings being built there. It looks like, where are all those people going to park? Are they also want to be on Jefferson?
What you're seeing across the street in this upper left-hand photograph is
Yes.
the renovation of the building that is opposite of this building on the north side of Jefferson, and they are correctly developing the property that is to the east of that down the Jefferson Hill. They have cut in a road that accesses that development from West 5th Street and has the parking and the garages that are attached to those units in sort of from behind.
Okay. Gotcha.
I think Khalid is on the
Madam
call.
Chair?
Yes. Who's that? Liz?
That's Liz.
Madam Chair, this is Liz Kukla. I'd like to jump in really quick if I could.
Go ahead.
This in response to Mr. Donovan's comment, it is also a use variance because it is a zoned 2-family, and the applicant is asking for a live-work space, so he would be living and working in the unit, as explained by the description there. And we heard what the specific business or work that the appellant is proposing? Is it more of a manufacturing, or is it a retail? Is he selling things? Is he making things? What's the proposal here?
Managing the store. Keith, do you know? Kurt, rather, do you know?
Good morning. Yes, Madam Chair. The tenant that he's looking to lease to, or he has leased to, and hoping that we are allowed to operate, is a dance studio.
Oh,
So in this particular case, she is not living there. But the reason that we're making that request was per Charlie requesting that we would be allowed to do that. And the running conversation that Mr. Riccardi and I had via email texting determined that we had to come talk to you in all cases. We had to come talk to you and ask you for permission. So we just felt if we were going to come have this conversation, we should at least ask for the live work circumstance. It seems consistent with the neighborhood. And I was going to say, I believe Khalid is on the call from Fremont West, so perhaps he can speak to some of the neighborhood questions that you have.
good. Thank you. Khalid, good morning.
Good morning, Chairwoman and Board. Yeah, so this is Khalid Hawthorne with Tremont West, Housing Economic Development Director. Yeah, so this is actually they've done some considerable work to this building over the last year or so, painting it, open up the storefront windows and things of that nature. A lot of positive direction here. it wasn't a terrible property as far, but it was a declining property. So the work that's been done already is appreciated. The live work, I think, is something that we appreciate in Tremont, especially the fact that it would create we don't have a lot of affordable spaces for entrepreneurs, and we have entrepreneurs looking to locate in Tremont all the time and get sticker shock. So, but the dance studio is a great use, active use there. This building is basically we see it as a technicality. Basically, it was built to be a storefront with multiple units, and there's enough street parking there to accommodate this the scale of this use, as well as the adjoining property across the street. They will have a commercial component to that as well, small commercial component to that as well, accommodated with street parking. And then as was mentioned, the townhomes there all have 2-car garages attached at the rear. So we have not met formally due to the timing of this as far as Block Club and Economic Development Committee, but in general, I support it.
Thank you very much. But my question is the dance studio going in the storefront?
Yes.
Okay, because I don't want it on the second floor, and if I lived in this building, I'd kill you.
Kurt.
Okay. Board, any other questions? I'm kidding. I would never kill you, Kurt. Thank you.
How many,
Resident studio?
how many different, shall we say, customers does the dance studio expect to be able to generate? And what is the timing of that versus the timing of the residential units in the same building?
Kurt?
I'd love to answer the question. I don't know the specifics of how the dance studio will operate. And I'm not quite sure what you're asking. The apartment units exist.
And they have cars, right?
Yeah, that operation is, again, I think I would defer to Khalid because I think he's seen what's happened over there over the time frame as Charlie has acquired and cleaned up the property. As he said, it was always, those apartments were always there. The storefront was boarded and vacant. And I think, as I understand it from Charlie, he owns the house adjacent to the right there, and he lives in Pittsburgh. I'm sorry, I hesitate to mention that, but he conducts business across the tri-state area, and it was his business moving around that brought him into Cleveland and had him acquire that house next to this storefront building. And in the time that he was spending in Cleveland, when the opportunity to obtain the building and clean the building up and do what he's done here, that seemed like a natural trajectory for Charlie. So he's hopeful that you will look favorably upon our request this morning to put the storefront back in service.
Tim, were you questioning this parking for the residents in that building? Is that what the question was?
I'm just trying to understand the parking demand, when it is,
Oh, okay.
If you're gonna have 50 people doing a dance class, that's a lot of cars. So you got 4 people doing it, that's less. If they're doing it at an hour where people are working, then there's no conflict in terms of who's gonna get the spot on the street.
So I can try to attempt to address that question. It's not a large space, so it'll be. I'm assuming just based on capacity alone, you definitely not 50 people. Probably 10 in the 10 to 15 range at the most. Just based on the size, that would be kind of snug, right? Especially dancing. As far as parking goes, during the daytime, it's mostly, as you say, construction parking right now. I'd also know that There's people parked there for access to the trail, to towpath trail. But for the most part, it looks like the second picture in the top right during the day most of the time.
All right.
Any other questions, board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, just wanted to pipe in that, I agree. I'd like to mirror its comments on this. City planning is definitely in support of this. This is a very well-maintained structure. When I was there taking the pictures, there was ample parking, which was, midday. So we definitely support this project. And bringing this storefront back to use, and Khalid's comments about affordable spaces like that is very important. So we fully support this project.
Thank you, and I apologize for not calling on you, Maurice.
No problem.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, based on the testimony and the explanation of the basic current traditional use of the on-street parking to fill in the void in this particular instance, I would move that we would endorse both the parking forgiveness as well as the change of use into the live work use that is described as a dance studio.
Second it.
Thank you. Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Barnes, yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Calendar 20-139 is granted. We will ratify this next week and send you a letter.
Thank you, very much, board.
Thank you, Kurt. Okay, we'll go to the 20-144 at 14141 Triscuit. Jacqueline Wilson and Brenda Verdell, owners, propose to install a pre-manufactured front porch enclosure system to a wooden deck 8 foot 5 inches by 13 foot 5 inches of a two-family residence in an A1 family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application from the following sections of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances, and I'm going to read that. It's on section 357.13B4, which states that enclosed front porches shall not project more than 4 feet, proposing 8 feet, and they are proposing 8 feet and 5 inches, filed September 15th, 2020.
Were everyone for this case, please raise your right hand. I'm going to make a statement. Your response will be I do with your name. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Name?
Brenda Verdill.
Anyone else?
Okay,
Appears not.
okay. History of the property, please, Mrs. Kukla.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. And the records room, I found that a permit was issued in 1944 to erect a two-family dwelling. There are no variances on file. And in the more recent history, I found that in 2008, a permit was issued to replace windows. 2016, a permit was issued to re-roof the property. And also, Madam Chair, I'd like to state, since I have the floor, that we received email from Melissa Miller from Bel Air Puritas yesterday. They support the variances, and she also sent me a letter from the councilman supporting these variances as well.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Ms. Verdell, tell us exactly what you'd like to do. Oh, the legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting an area variance from the front porch requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Thank you very much. Ms. Riddell, tell us exactly what you'd like to do.
I'd like to enclose that front porch. One of the reasons why I bought the house is because the front porch was so attractive. I grew up and that was like a mainstay. We sat on the front porch and chatted, and the front porch, the way it faces, it gets a lot of road dirt. It also, in the wintertime, when the snow blows, the snow actually packs up against the door, making it, we have to shovel the door or shovel the porch just to be able to get in the front door. And I'd really like to enjoy that front porch. I'd like it to be enclosed with some windows so I can get a cup of coffee, go out there and just sit and relax. This day with all the COVID and everything, so many more people are spending so much more time at home. I'd just like to use that and enjoy that. There's, the dirt from the road, the bugs. I just, like to have a little bit more protection in the front.
When you bought the house, the porch was there, is that right?
That's correct. The porch was there.
Okay. And I see you have a lot of windows planned for around the enclosure.
Madam Chair, did this get properly reviewed by Building and Housing? Because I wonder if in reality, what we're doing here is not adding a porch, but adding a room.
Yes.
There's only two of us that live in the house. I have no more need for room. Like I said, I just want to enjoy the front porch, and in its current state, the cats come up and they urinate on the porch. We have a skunk issue in the area, and like I said, it's just really there's no, I don't want to live out there. I just want to be able to sit out there and enjoy, relaxing, not having to sit in front of a TV.
It won't be heated, right?
No.
Brenda?
No, it will not be heated.
Okay. So it's just going to.
So this current porch is the footprint of what the room addition will be. It won't be any longer, or it won't stretch beyond the perimeter?
No, sir. It's the exact same footprint.
Mr. Riccardi, is this a porch?
Ms. Riccardi is not here today. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. What's your question again, please?
My question? Is this a porch or is this a room addition?
Oh, this is a porch.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Maurice, City of Cleveland Planning?
Madam Chair, I guess I have the question. It seems like the addition is going to be deeper than what's there now to the applicant.
It's supposed to be the same footprint.
I didn't hear whoever that was speaking.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. It's supposed to be the exact same footprint.
It just seems like it's longer, or wider, or deeper, excuse me. But that's fine. We support this variance. A 4-foot porch is basically unusable.
Yes.
Right.
For much of anything. And so to go to an 8-foot porch, that's absolutely acceptable. We support the variance.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, based on the testimony and the definition that this is indeed a porch, not a room addition, given the fact that it's hard to use a porch that's not wide enough, and this will solve that problem, I would move that we would ratify the request for a variance, sir.
I second it. Call the roll.
Ms. Barnes?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yep.
Mrs. Johnson.
Yes.
Calendar 20-144 is granted. It'll be ratified next week, and we will send you a letter.
Thank you so much. God bless.
Enjoy your porch.
Thank you.
Calendar 20-145 at 1571 East 32nd Street. The Cuyahoga County Land Bank owner proposes to build an 8-car parking lot in a B1 two-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application from the following sections of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as listed in the agenda and in the public record.
Will everyone for this case kindly raise your right hand? I will make a statement. Your response is I do with the declaration of your name. Somebody has their phone on. The echo. Hello? Do you hear that echo?
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody just put their phone on. Mute your phone, please. Still, it's time for you to speak.
Garrity's, are you, to the Garrity's, are you called in as well as on your computer?
No, we were just on the computer, so it's not our phone.
Okay.
Let's just stop. Whoever did it stopped. Okay.
Somebody muted. Thank you.
Here we go. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, Marcia Sachs.
I do, Bob Garrity.
Anyone else there?
No.
Okay.
All right.
History of the please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. And there are no variances on file. I think the most valid information or the most important information is that in 2019, in October of 2019, a permit was issued to demolish a 2-story frame, 2-family dwelling. And as with the last case, Madam Chair, since I have the floor, we received 2 letters yesterday. One was from Midtown Cleveland, where they support the variance conditionally, provided that the appellants include fencing and landscaping, buffering, a landscape frontage street, proper drainage, and bumper guards. And I received a St. Clair Superior letter of support with those exact same conditions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. The legal standard will be judging the case on, please, Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Appellant is requesting area variances from the off-street parking and screening requirements of the zoning code, as well as permission to construct a parking lot in a residential district. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and the granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. Subsection 34913C provides that the board may permit temporarily or permanently the use of land in a residential district for a parking lot when the best interest of the community will be served, and provided that the lot is to be used only for the parking of passenger automobiles of employees, customers, or guests of the person or firm controlling and operating the lot, who shall be responsible for its maintenance. No charge is to be made for parking on the lot. The lot is not to be used for sales, repair work, or servicing of any kind. Entrance to and exit from the lot are to be located so as to do the least harm to the residence district. No advertising sign or material is to be located on the lot. All parking is to be kept back at a setback building line by barrier unless specifically authorized otherwise by the board. The parking lot and that portion of the driveway back of the building line are to be adequately screened from the street and from adjoining property in a residence district by a hedge, sightly fence, or wall, not less than 4 feet 6 inches high and not more than 5 feet high, located back of the setback building line. All lighting is to be arranged so that there be no glare that is annoying to the occupants of adjoining property in a residence district, and the surface of the parking lot is to be smoothly graded, hard surfaced, and adequately drained. And the building permit number under which the lot is to be established is to be posted. The board may impose such other and further conditions that it may deem necessary to reduce the adverse effects of the proximity of a parking lot upon the character, development, and maintenance of the residence district.
Thank you.
How many parking spots? Oh,
Well, do the Garrity's want to make their presentation? Just tell me when to advance the slides.
Okay.
Do we need to, someone join from the Midtown,
Karis Tseng,
Kara
do you need
Tseng?
to swear her in?
She joined, she,
Chris Zhang, yes, joining from Midtown Cleveland.
Tim?
yes.
Can you swear her in?
Okay. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Kara Singh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Maurice, can you go back to that first slide you had in here? Okay.
We don't need our PowerPoint up until I speak, and Marcia's going to go first. So.
yeah, so good morning, Madam Chair and board members. Bob has been living at 1576 East 32nd for about 16 years, and I moved in after we got married in 2013. Fun fact, today's our anniversary. So we decided to purchase the property across the street from us when it became available last year as an investment for ourselves. And also because we considered it as a way of helping the neighborhood by offering some low to middle income family units. We really, really love living in this area. It's close to downtown, it's diversified, has great restaurants, has easy access to the highway in both directions. And as the board probably is aware, we're part of the Opportunity Zone as an economic tool that is designed to stimulate growth in lower income communities. So the property we purchased, it's 2 lots with 5 houses and potentially 9 rental units. To date, we have rehabilitated and rented 6 of the 9 units. Prior to us purchasing the property, there were only 3 units that were actually being utilized, and there was just a single tenant that had an actual car. So there wasn't really an additional, there wasn't a lot of strain on, the parking situation on the block. At that time, although 32nd Street is a very narrow street, it's a one-way street, and parking is only allowed on the west side of the street. And because it's only parking on the one side, it's always been kind of challenging. And now that we have additional people living here, it's getting even more difficult. So it's very common to see cars parked illegally in front of fire hydrants, blocking driveways. Cars will frequently park on the east side of the street, either up on the sidewalk or in the street. Which is illegal, and it's also, hazardous should an emergency vehicle have to get through. Some of our tenants have 2 cars, and it's really, a concern that there won't be enough parking by the time that we have brought up all our rental units and have them rented out. So a few months ago, the land bank demolished this building. It was a condemned house. And it's just a single lot away from where our property is. So we'd like to purchase this property to use as a parking lot. And now Bob will walk you through the PowerPoint presentation.
Well, first let me talk about this current slide. So the yellow rectangle is, that building was torn down in January. That was the 2-story. Just to the right of that is a family, and that's not our property. And then go one more to the right. There is a 2-story, then another 2-story, then 2 bungalows, there. And then behind the bungalows is a 2-story. We own those 5 buildings. Those are what we bought. If you look across the street to the brown roofed house,
Yes.
not that one, but further this,
Yeah.
there you go, right there. That's where we live. So it's long story short, the properties that we pointed out first, those 5 buildings were in the same family for 130 years. Stanley Pager's grandfather started building in 1890. Stan worked at Burke Lakefront for 35 years. He retired 2 years ago and unfortunately had a stroke 1 year into retirement. It's a very sad story. So his daughter sold us those 2 parcels. And so we bought the 5 houses. We become landlords now. And so we spent $125,000 to buy them. And we're now about $125,000 in rehab. So $250,000 investment. And we don't have parking. So we don't have the advantage of East 31st and East 33rd, which they're both one-way streets, but they have parking on both sides, which I will show you in the presentation. And there's plenty of empty lots on our street that have never been developed in the 16 years I've lived there. One is owned by the Land Bank, one's owned by St. Clair Superior. There are 2 buildings that are falling in disrepair. One's owned by St. Clair Superior that needs to be torn down, in my opinion. There's another one owned by a private individual, which probably needed to be torn down. But interestingly enough, he had a roof put on it yesterday. So it looks like he's going to be renting as well. So we're ready to go to the slides now. Mr. Rulins, please. Okay, so this is just the base, right? So this is the, if you look on the left, you can see the land bank just to the left of that little garage with the red framed garage door. That is the property in question where we want to put the parking lot. The red frame garage door is an Asian family. And then to the right of that is the beginning of our properties. That's a double. Then there is a triple, the gray one. And then the 2 white bungalows. And then behind the 2 bungalows is the other 2-story. This is what picture was taken from our upstairs window in the house we live in. Next slide. This is just a sign that the land bank put in so people didn't park there. And there's another view of the lot. Next slide. Here's an example of people just parking on the lot. Next slide. Another person just parking on. People just use whatever place they can park because there's so limited parking. Next slide. So another person parking on the lot, plus a neighbor who has an empty lot. He bought one of Stan Pager's buildings, which is 2 houses to the north of us on our side of the street. This is hard to explain, but so anyway, so he uses that spot as a parking lot, and we'll see more pictures as we go along of how many cars he parks there. So this is an example of our street where there's parking on the left-hand side, west side, but not on the east side, but people park right on the sidewalk. Next slide. And another example looking the other direction on our street, people just parking on the sidewalk because there's no place to park. Next slide. And here is the person next to the lot we want to make a parking lot. He, like I said, he uses his property as a parking lot. Next slide. More of the same. Next slide. This is somebody who parked right in front of our house and left his cool little, whatever you call it, three-wheeled motorcycle. And so he's blocking our driveway, and he's also too close to a fire hydrant. So next slide. More parking in the neighbors next to the unit we want. Next slide. Somebody parking on the sidewalk. Next slide. Same. Next slide.
Bob takes a lot of pictures.
I got some duplicates in here. Next slide. Sorry. This is looking in the opposite direction down our street from our front porch. So it's pretty packed most of the time on the right-hand side. Next slide. Here's somebody who parked right in front of our house, in front of the fire hydrant. Next slide. Somebody parking on the sidewalk. Next slide. This is East 31st Street where Mueller Lofts is located. Mueller Lofts is a little bit down the street on the left-hand side. As you can see, it's a one-way street, but they have parking on both sides. Next slide. You can see Mueller Lofts there, the brick building on the left. Again, parking on both sides. There's Mueller Lofts on the left. Again, parking on both sides. Next slide. This is the other direction, looking down East 31st, Mueller Lofts on the right. This is East 33rd, looking north, and they have parking on both sides. Next slide. This is just an example of how the neighborhood is somewhat going downhill, unfortunately. This is a convenience store which closed, Amy's Beverage and Deli. Next slide. And that's at the end of our street on Payne. And this is the old Dave's Market that closed on Payne and 33rd. Next slide. And this is one of Dave's parking lots, which is now unused. Next slide. This is next to Gourmet Wonton Barbecue, also at Payne and 32nd, just an empty lot. Next slide. This is an example of Mueller Loft. You can see their brick buildings in the background. They needed so much parking that they got parking on our street. This is a parking lot that they were granted by St. Clair Superior Development. As a matter of fact, all the parking lots that Mueller Lofts got, they had 51 units. They got about 5 total parking lots that were given to them free, according to My Place website and property transfers, although I was given some documentation showing they paid $2,000 per parking lot. But anyway, next slide. This is looking up our street, and that's the Mueller Lofts parking lot on our street, even though they're on East 31st. Next slide. This is that house that's falling down that's privately owned. Next slide. There's the vines that are taking it over, but they just had a roof put on it yesterday, for full disclosure. These are 2 lots. These are 2 lots, empty lots that are up near the north end of the street towards Superior that have been empty ever since I lived here 16 years. One is owned by the Land Bank, one's owned by St. Clair Superior, and no one's ever developed. Next slide. This is a dilapidated house next to Dependable Tool on our street on the side we live on. It's the first house on the west side, just south of Superior, right after Dependable Tool. Next slide. And this is an example of a parking lot 2 streets away. This is East 34th, where somebody has obviously had a parking lot for years, and it's an example of how people can peacefully coexist with a parking lot on a street. So that's what we envision, but with fences. Yes, we are. These are our properties. Just want to show you how we've kept them up. Next slide. And these are the properties. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. And that's it.
Okay.
So yeah, basically, I think I've included most everything. Just the fact that, it is a necessary hardship. And I believe there are ordinances that support off-street parking for multifamily, commercial, residential in section 337. Yeah, that pretty much covers it.
How many spaces?
8. And we will, here's what happened. When we sent it to the Board of Zoning Appeals, I talked to someone, I don't know whether it was Ms. Kukla or somebody else, who said, just send it the way we proposed it to Building and Housing without making the corrections. So then I thought, well, maybe we should get a new schematic made, and the new schematic was going to cost us another $3,000. We figured, well, let's see if we can get the zoning variance first before we invest any more money, because we've already invested $250,000. So we are fully willing to make any changes that you require: the fencing, the bumper guards, the landscaping, the water runoff. We'll do all that, no problem. And we'll work with planning. I've spoken with Karis Singh, and as you saw, they conditionally support us. This is the drawing that we had submitted to Building and Housing. And so, yes.
So is this the final plan, as you call it?
No, well, I can submit another one if we have to. I'm happy to do the fence.
No, we have to review a plan.
Okay.
Is this the plan we're reviewing, or are you saying, well, there's a plan coming?
Tim,
I'm sorry?
you're like in a tin can.
I know, I don't,
You know you're in a tin can, okay. My question to you, Bob, is if we grant this, what happens to that guy next door who's already parking on the grass?
He can still park on his grass. He has a gate.
Oh,
he gets a citation.
are you gonna have fence there that would, okay.
Yes, we'll put a fence in. We'll put drain. We'll do everything you want.
Yes.
We don't. I mean, we're long-term residents. I want to make the place nice, and that's why I showed you the pictures of our houses that we've rehabilitated to show you how much we care about the neighborhood. We're not going to shortchange anybody on this parking.
It would seem to me that city planning should have a plan in your area that could help you spruce up your plan and put in the things like the landscaping strip up the street, the kind of fencing you're going to use, etc. And that is the kind of evidentiary material that we need in order to make a decision.
I'm happy to work with city planning. Like I said, we just didn't want to throw another $3,000 in drawing another schematic in something that we might not ever get. That's all. I mean, we spent a lot of money already. If city planning can help us and we maybe get a grant or something to pay for it, I don't know. I don't know what our options are. We're new at this. We're new landlords. We're
not asking for engineered drawings. We're asking just for, you gotta already have a concept plan that I'm looking at right now. You could just take that as your base. If there's gonna be landscaping areas, just mark them. You got the entryway there, the kind of fence you're proposing. Give us an example of that. So that way we know what we're approving.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that we could do it that way. Great.
Sure.
So it doesn't need to be done by a professional surveyor or
No.
engineer or anything? We could just take this and mock it up and say landscaping here and
The bumper guards, you could just draw in.
how we that.
And what kind of fence you're putting on.
Okay.
Okay, so we can do that ourselves?
Yes.
I get help with the city planner.
Okay.
Okay.
Which person in particular?
So I believe this area is Kim Scott, of our office. You should reach out to her.
Okay.
We fully, let me put you, because you're the ones. We fully support the parking lot. I mean, when I was down there taking the photographs, it's really tight parking down there. I had a hard time finding a parking spot. But we never approve parking lots in the middle of a residential block without having the landscaping and screening that's necessary. We normally don't allow people parking in their front yards, and basically that's what you're allowing by granting this parking lot. So we do need the landscaping and screening. And I can say, just looking at this drawing at the street, you have it very tight, yet at the rear you have a 15-foot border. So back here, you've got 15 feet. I would probably reduce that distance here and add the landscaping and screening up here in the front. So you wouldn't lose any spaces. You'd just be sliding that concrete in a different direction to provide more of a buffer at the front. But yeah, otherwise we support this as long as it meets the requirements of the code. Absolutely. And I will say that their houses are in excellent condition down there on the street.
I see a motion to postpone to allow the appellants to get together with the city planning staff and further illustrate their concept through a park plan for parking. That's all I got, kids. Does anybody hear
You have a
me?
second?
Okay.
Or actually, we don't even have to.
With the second, it's to postpone the case, to give them the time to meet with the planner.
And Maurice, will you send Bob the information to reach Kim?
Sure.
Thank you. He's going to send you the information to meet the planner. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we can postpone this case at your request.
2 or 3 weeks.
Yes, please.
As Tim's request. Give us a date, Ms. Kukla.
Madam Chair, October 26th is already full, so November 2nd would be the first available hearing date next.
Is that enough time for you folks?
Could we do it November 9th instead? I have a
How's
pharmacy board hearing.
November 9th is fine.
Okay,
Thank you.
Is that
I just
objection?
I just typed in the chat Kim Scott's email address. I don't know if you saw that.
Thank you.
I'll email it to you as well.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Old business?
Let me get to that. We have a few pictures to go through.
What was the court case that we won? Did you hear me?
Yeah, that was, oh God, now I can't remember.
That
Which
was the
one was-
Cleveland Auto Nation, 3540 West 117th Street. That's the Donna Brady case that was
West
contentious.
117th, not 17th.
Sorry, what? Pardon me?
West 117th, you said West 17th.
Sorry, West 117th. Yeah.
Okay.
So now on that note, they're coming back on the 19th, and however, Brian Mooney, again, this is another thing I got over the weekend, so I wasn't able to get it to Maurice timely. Brian Mooney is asking for a postponement on that case for 30 days because now they're asking for a gas station at the site.
Of course.
So they,
Okay,
he
that's
would
that
like 30 days to hold a public meeting, 30 days from the 19th of October.
Give him November 23rd.
Sounds great. Will do.
But
Okay.
they ratified our decision, right?
Okay.
Yes.
1 and
Yeah.
2. Without
Without
objection.
objection.
Okay.
Are we all here? Okay, yeah.
And then Kenilworth, Kelly got back to me. November 16th doesn't work, so the 23rd is the first hearing that she'll be back on the board.
That's
So we
fine.
need to push that another week.
Okay. That's fine.
So to Tim's question, yeah, they upheld our decision. If you remember, they were asking for repair use with car sales.
Right.
And it seemed that the repair use was grandfathered in, even though it was written up as they were requesting to establish it as a repair garage with car sales. And Donna Brady was really opposed to the auto sales part of that proposal. And, you know, she brought out all the big guns and whatnot, so.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Done for today?
See you all next week.
Oh my God, this might have been the
Okay.
shortest meeting ever. Okay. Especially for our WebEx.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
I emailed Faith already, so hopefully we'll hear back from her.